What's up, Knucklehead Nation? We're back again with some very exciting news. And the man, the myth, the legend himself, George Francis, the guy who, well, I wouldn't be here without him. And I'm pretty sure the rest of us wouldn't be here without him. And we're here to preview Fighters Rep 19. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Adam. This is an absolutely wonderful card we've got, coming together. It's almost done. I'm very excited about this card, man, and I'm excited to talk to you about it because, the talent on this thing is just crazy, man.
Well, yeah, it's like, well, we're always in texting form back and forth. And I think every like highlight I make, like it's usually accompanied by me texting George of like, oh my God, did you see how good this guy and did you see this kick and this highlight he had and that thing? Like, man, like I can nerd and talk kickboxing all day.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. And if you're a fan of combat sports, this is going to be a tremendous card for you. If you're anywhere in the Los Angeles area and you missed this on September 9th, you're absolutely crazy. Tickets are on sale already at fightersrep.com. Get them before they're gone because there's just too much talent, too much star power on this card, Adam. It's just too much, man. It's
Dude.
crazy what Hung was able to do with the matchmaking, helping me out. We got some great pros on the card. We got some great Amis on the card. We got you interviewing them, every few days here and there. We're learning more about them. We're getting excited about them. We're getting emotionally invested in them and in their story. And man, it's just a beautiful card coming together, man. I can feel a huge, huge card coming together.
I would agree, man. Like this is like the Fighters Rep All Star like lineup. Is like the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Because like almost every single guy like who's ever fought for us, like if they didn't have a finish in their last fight, they had some just a complete takeaway one-sided victory like at one point within the Lions Den.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of these guys too, it's not gloating, it's not boasting, but a lot of our guys that we've developed at Fighters Rep, they've not only become champions at Fighters Rep, a lot of them have gone to other promotions and just absolutely killed it and won championships there, and they're coming back to us. A lot of the guys we've developed from the ground up. And I'm starting to see these guys that developed at Fighters Rep that
Oh, you
had
cut
some
out a little bit.
experience at Fighters Rep move on to different stages. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I'm saying, like, I'm seeing a lot of these fighters go and find success in other sports and in other places, some of them advancing in their careers. But this is sort of a homecoming of a lot of the best, Fighters Rep fighters that we've developed. We love having these guys on. They love fighting for us. And a lot of these guys are what I would call Fighters Rep, veterans. And I want to say this, before moving on from that. So Trevor Wells, big shout out to Trevor Wells. He's on tough right now. I think he lost, but he put up a
He
hell of a
unfortunately
fight.
got eliminated, but
Right. But he put up a hell of a fight. I think he's got a lot of talent. He's a former Fighters Rep champion. And it's amazing to see guys, from Fighters Rep in the UFC, Bellator, and everywhere else. I know we're not an MMA promotion anymore, but it's good to see that, we've helped guys get to their dreams, whether it's in striking or MMA or whatever it is. So
well, look
just
at the
very
Silva
exciting to
brothers.
see him out there,
I was gonna say, look at the Silva brothers. You have Gabriel making some strides in what is it called? Hollywood Fight Night, right? Is like the
Right.
UFC Fight Pass.
Right. So Khalil and Gabriel, as far as I know, they're boxing.
Yeah.
They've taken on boxing full time, and I think boxing is a good sport for them, honestly. I think they're both very talented. They've got the gift of athleticism and fighting from their dad. I think their dad showed that he's a really good boxer, even in his later years. against Jake Paul,
I was gonna say.
and he showed an amazing display against Julio Cesar Chavez, who used to be a world champion in boxing, and beat him.
Yeah.
So, it kind of makes you think, what would have Anderson Silva been? I mean, of course, he was the GOAT in MMA for a time, but what would he have been had he concentrated on boxing? And I think that's what the Silva brothers are aiming to find out. So, of course, we wish them all the best. And I stay in touch with, especially Khalil. Every once in a while, I text him just to see what he's up to. And I love seeing them, do it big.
Hopefully they do make a return potentially to Fighters Rep or at least kickboxing, man, because as much
For
I
sure. For sure.
love
Cheers, by the
boxing,
way,
but
Adam.
oh, cheers, sir. And as much as I love boxing and I'm a fan of boxing, like, it's the sweet science, but there's something exciting when you throw kicks in there,
Yeah.
when you can kind of equal the playing field, where a guy, he may not have the greatest punch power, but I don't care who you are, unless you've been hit with the shin bone yourself, like
No, forget
that
it.
thing's like a baseball bat.
Yeah. Kickboxing is the equivalent of giving everybody, this for the boxing fans out there, is the equivalent of giving every single fighter the ability to land a Deontay Wilder right hand. That's what a shin bone does. That's what a good, nicely placed kick to the head can do, or kick to the body, or kick to the leg even. That's why kickboxing, I think, is so exciting. I think that's why it's the best combat sport in the world, because you can be behind, you can be losing, just like in boxing, and you can just come back with one shot. And unlike boxing, not everybody's got knockout power in boxing. But man, it's difficult to say that about kickboxing, right? Because there's so many ways to finish a guy. A leg kick could finish the fight. We've seen Jason Granado do that. A kick
Mhm.
to the head could finish a fight. We've seen David Marquez do that. The Death Dealer, who's going to be, both of these guys I mentioned are going to be competing at Fighters Rep 19 on September 9th. A kick to the body can do it, as we saw from Michael Claycomb when he landed that amazing highlight reel spinning back kick to the body. So
I'll
it's
do
just,
you
it's
one
just,
better from a fighter on this card who did this very similar thing, Raymond, Martinez.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, he landed one against Dylan, who, even though, they didn't count it as a finish, he got it at the end of the fight. But interesting enough, Dylan and Raymond are now on the same team because of
Oh,
their fight
got a little bit of a slow
at
connection. We
Fighters on
are
September 9th. It's very cool too.
all right.
No
Sorry about
problem.
that,
Were you
George.
able to hear me?
Yeah, I could.
No, no.
It comes through. This is the tough part. We're working from opposite ends of the country here, but
Yeah.
we've talked about it. We've hyped it up. I say, let's get into the fights, man.
Yeah.
I got
There's a
them pulled
lot.
up right here, on the spreadsheet, and we got number one. We got Alex Stowe taking on Edgar Fraga, sir.
Yeah.
Man, I was just watching Alex Stowe's. I want to say it was his last fight against Ruben Moro. I was really impressed, man. I was
Yeah.
really, really impressed. The kid is game.
Yeah, and he's from Ironman Navarro's gym. Just an absolute, I'll say this, just an absolute pleasure to work with. Besides the fact, rather, that the kid can fight, just an absolute pleasure to work with, Adam. I mean, he's so excited about his fight. He's hitting me up directly. Where's my poster? I want to post it, not in a disrespectful way, but he's like, where's my poster? I want to post my poster. I want to start advertising my fight. He wants to market himself. He's about the life. Alex Stowe is about the life. And I love to see that, and I want to give him, I don't want him to be disappointed with his experience. I hope here at Fighters Rep, and I think he did receive a great experience last time. I think that's why he's so excited to fight for us again. But I want to give these young upcoming fighters that are hungry a good experience. I don't want them to regret ever stepping into the ring. And I feel like Alec is a guy who got a taste of being in the Lions Den. And even though he came up short, he put up a hell of a fight. His stock went up against a very tough Ruben Moro. And we saw him shine in that fight. And, he wants it, man. He wants it so bad, and when you add ability and passion and desire, you're going to get something explosive. And I think that's why I'm excited about this fight against Edgar Fraga. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about Edgar, right? I don't know a ton. He's never fought for Fightersrep before. But what I do know is all I need to know, which is he trains out of Classic Fight Team, and Tyler Wombles is his coach. I mean, we're talking about the same guy who's David Rivera's coach. We're talking about the same guy who's trained the Paez brothers. We're talking about the same guy who trains Ed Hyman and Tyler Smith, and the list goes on. And TJ Dillashaw has been
Shout
out
out
there.
Jeffrey Craig.
There's Jeffrey Craig, who's an absolute animal, who we've been trying to get into the Lions Den as well. So, if that's your coach, you're gonna be a handful. And these guys have similar experience. By the way, not a single fight on the card as of right now is inexperienced to the point where they're going to be wearing headgear and shin guards. Even the amateurs, they're all experienced to the point where they don't need to wear headgear and shin guards. Not a single fight on the card so far. So these guys are all experienced, man. These are the best of the best as far as striking, both amateur and pro.
And I got to tell a little Tyler Womble story of like just how impressive, but also kind of intimidating that guy is, at least to me. I remember, because I followed him for a while, and actually a lot of those guys that train at Classic Fight Team have trained at my gym at Subfighter MMA. And so I wanted to like give him respect, right? And I was gonna say it, but at the time, I think somebody had brought out an American flag, and somebody was making entrance or something, and they were just like slightly stepping on it. And I'm an advocate. Like I said, I love America, man. This is this is the best country in the world, in my opinion.
I'm glad you got that right.
It is. It's there's no freedom like the ones we have here, truly. And just seeing the like rage that it was like this person was stepping on it by an inch, that Tyler Womble said, like, get off the flag. And I was like, I'll approach him later. I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna let this guy be.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
the guys he trains, and he still gets in there and spars. He still mixes it up.
Yeah. I mean, no, he's in great, obviously in great shape. He knows what he's doing. He's, his work speaks for itself, and so having Edgar Fraga, representing Classic Fight Team versus Alex Stowe, represented for Ironman Navarro's gym. It's going to be a fantastic fight.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next one. We got Oscar Leal taking on Rudy. I believe it's Cuevas.
Cuevas the third. Now, listen, these are not in order for everyone asking. These are not, and this is not the card order. This is just how it is right now. We're just giving it to you how it's written, but it's not in order yet. So keep that in mind. But yeah, Oscar Leal versus Rudy Cuevas. Oscar is a guy who he's had more MMA experience than he's had striking experience. But he's another guy who got a taste of kickboxing in the Lions Den the last time out. And he just, George, I want to fight again. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Super respectful guy, very tough guy. He had a very hard fight against Griffin Rodriguez. He came out, just shy of getting the victory there. Griffin was able to outpoint him, but he put up a hell of a fight. He's a tough guy. He's won, a lot of his fights in MMA. He likes to stand and bang. And he's pure entertainment, and he's representing for Evolution Muay Thai, they've got an amazing striking pedigree, and he's going to be taking on Rudy Cuevas out of the dog pound MMA with Coach Marcelo Lumacong, a guy who I have a ton of respect for, and I know if he's putting his name behind this kid, Rudy Cuevas, it's going to be a hell of a fight. I think you guys are going to see a hell of a fight. Two guys who seem to be
he's cutting
sort of rough guys that are not going to back down. I think that's what we're going to get in this fight.
Yeah, and I got to actually share. Ironically, I've seen Oscar Leal compete live in MMA, but I've never seen him compete in kickboxing. And he actually fought one of my teammates. Oh, you there, George?
Yeah, I'm here. I hear you. My bad.
All right. Yeah, but I don't know if you heard me, but yeah, I somehow miraculously haven't seen Oscar compete in kickboxing, and have actually
Yeah.
seen all his other MMA fights. And like I was saying, actually, one of my teammates, Mark Zarenkelk, actually fought him in an MMA smoker.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was
Okay.
very familiar with the guy. So I was pretty excited, man. This guy's tough, dude. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
He's
he
tough.
went a few rounds with my teammate, and he was a very skilled guy, and this was very early on. I think even before he made his technically his amateur debut, because
Hmm.
they fought in a smoker during COVID times,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
there was a few underground fights going on. But yeah, man, like I've seen him fight a few times, and this guy, like, you got to throw everything and the kitchen sink at Oscar, man. I
Yeah,
was
he's not
impressed.
he's not gonna go down easy, and I really think, like, from what I've seen from Cuevas and knowing the dog pound MMA guys and the way Coach Marcelo gets down, I'm not seeing this as a fight where either guy's gonna back down. So I think we're gonna see a lot of entertainment here. And Oscar Lell, he fights for his kids, man. He's got a real reason to fight. And listen, Adam, that's why we got you doing this, man, because you somehow, some way got a connection to all of these guys. You know what's going on in the community. And we love having you talk about this with us, man. I love it.
Hey man, I'm just lucky to be here. Like I said, I always tell George that I appreciate the platform he's given me. And like this is honestly my
Ah,
favorite gig out of anything that I do. This is one of my favorites, is getting to work for Fighters Rep. All
I
right,
love
moving
to hear
on.
that, man. I love to.
This guy I'm really excited to see back, because we talk about developments. I've seen him from his first fight to now. Michael Gutierrez fighting out of GFIT,
Oof.
man.
Yeah,
He's
man.
gotten better every single fight.
Yeah.
He had a really tough first fight taking on Lion Fernandez,
Yeah.
and had a
Yeah.
back and forth fight, and then his next fight, which, I use that fight as an example anytime I'm dealing with anybody who's not as experienced or doesn't know kickboxing as well. The power of the check left, man. The
Yeah.
In his second fight, he had his opponent came out, he was aggressive, trying to be in his face. Mike, who had been there, waits patiently, waits in the moment, and just responds with the left hand and drops his opponent cold, man.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good finish. That was a very brutal finish, at a hell of a way to come off of a loss in your first fight, to come out and get that stoppage, get a pretty spectacular knockout in his second fight. And then, he came out in his third fight, he got another stoppage, against Anders Borg. And now I believe it's his fourth fight. So the headgear, the shin guards comes off, right? And listen, Mike, he's a fan of kickboxing. He owns a kickboxing gym. He's a kickboxer. He's not a boxer. He's not an MMA fighter. He's not Muay Thai. He's a kickboxer, right? And he's a guy who's been developed at Fighters Rep now. But he's taken on another very exciting guy who's also been developed almost exclusively at Fighters Rep, a guy who's also a kickboxer, if you ask me, and that's Milshawn Lathan out of HB Fight Club. And Milshawn is a handful. Milshawn is long. Milshawn is quick. And Gutierrez, I feel like, is rough. He's powerful. And so it's going to be a very interesting clash of styles come September 9th when these two guys take on each other.
Exactly, man. Like that's the thing I really liked about this fight, is just watching again, just the instincts and just the builds of these guys. You have again Milshawn Lathan, who's going to be the taller guy coming in with the reach, but I believe I was just watching another one of his fights, today. And one thing I was really impressed by was his range.
Yeah.
He kind of stays in that kind of like with that right hand, a little bit of a Philly shell stance, not quite obviously, because he uses the left hand a lot and keeps it out there. But especially that early on, when you're that size fighting at what I believe will be 165, that
Yeah.
range makes a difference, because that's when you start to see the power, at least in my opinion, the power kind of goes up around those 160, 150 weight
Yeah.
classes. And being able to utilize range, being able to know how to get out of the way of shots and being able to like just stay in there is something I was really, really impressed by Milshawn. And
Yeah,
as I
and
said,
this
I've
is
seen Michael Gutierrez just develop, man. And on top of it, too, the homie is jacked. Like,
yeah, yeah. Well, they both are. They both are.
mhm.
And this is a very interesting bout at middleweight, man, because as David Rivera is our middleweight champion. He's not going to be back for this card. I think he's moving on to other combat sports. He wants to earn a couple belts here and there and then maybe go pro, right? And of course, we'd love to have him back, whether as a pro or as an amateur, but I don't know. I mean, he's been developing with us since we started in 2017. It may be time for him to go pro, and whether he wants to do MMA or whatever he wants to do, of course, we're going to always stand by him and wish him the best. But my point is, this could very well be a contender fight. Who's up next at 165 pounds to challenge for a title? We had Rivera versus Zoller 1 and 2. I don't know if we're going to get a trilogy fight there. Like I said, Rivera's looking at other options. He's always been very interested in MMA. So I don't know what happens after this, man. And then, we also have Zoller coming back at super middleweight at 172 pounds in September. But let's just concentrate on let me concentrate on this fight for now. It's a fantastic fight. These two guys are very talented. And this could be very well a contender fight, depending on how they perform in this fight.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. And I'm also curious to see Milshawn because we haven't had him back since I believe it was Fightersrep 15. I believe he had a surgery. He's coming back from having recovered in surgery. So, we'll see what he looks like come September 9th.
And you said it too. This is another one where it's the first fight for both fighters, I believe, without headgear. That's always a great element because, if anybody has ever at least sparred with headgear, it does make a difference.
It's horrible.
Having at least an extra inch of padding. I agree, George. I almost never wear it. You get hit a lot more.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's kind of different the way the hits feel, but
yeah.
I feel like when you take the headgear, you see a lot more creative head movement.
Yeah,
There's a lot of shots.
let's take for example Mariano Corona in his last fight, right, against Ian Holloway. I mean, it was his first fight without headgear, I believe, and he came out there and pretty much ended the fight in one round with one punch. It just some people just fight. I think most people fight much better without the headgear. I think it's a hindrance. I think it's it's an obstruction. So we'll see what these boys look like without headgear, man. Gutierrez slinging that big power, and Milshawn able to free up that that dynamic striking style that he has.
Again, I agree, man. I'm and I'm willing to go out on this stance, especially publicly. I think personally, headgear is not as safe as predicted. It's only visually safer. I
Yeah,
think it's actually safer just sometimes train without it more often than not.
I agree. And there's studies on that topic, so that's why I 100% agree with that.
All right, moving on to the next one. Man, I'm so excited for this one. We got Mark Reels taking on Griffin Rodriguez.
I've seen a little bit. I've seen a little bit of Reels. You're gonna have to tell me a little bit more about him. I mean, he looked good from what I've seen. I've seen limited tape on him. But Rafael, Coach Monstro is his coach, man. He's his trainer. And, so I know there's some special talent there because he's another guy who's not going to put his name on whatever. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Mark Reels make his Lions Den debut. I know he's fought other places and he's looked good from what I've seen. So I'm really excited to see him take on especially Griffin Rodriguez. Now, Griffin's coming out of, King's MMA. You expect him to be more of an MMA stylist. I'm not sure if that's the trajectory for him or not. What I can tell you is his striking is crisp. It's fluid. Nolan Tickman knows exactly what he's doing with this kid. And he came out, made his Lions Den debut in the last one against Oscar Leal. And he just looked fantastic, man. I mean, he looked fantastic in that fight. He was fast. He was sharp. And he got better as the rounds went on. So I'm really excited about this fight, man. Two very good camps. We got Coach Rafael. We got Nolan Tickman out of King's MMA. Let's see what we got going on here. Great development fight for both guys.
I didn't know El Monstro was Griffin Rodriguez's coach.
Oh yeah, that's what I got listed down here. So
That's awesome, man. I've seen that guy compete live, man. Monster in
yeah,
jiu-jitsu. Well,
yeah,
name
yeah,
fits. But yeah, man, I was super impressed by that last fight against Oscar Lil. I gotta agree, there's not a whole lot of tape out on Mark Reels. I tried my best to find it, but I couldn't see much. I do know he
mhm,
is quite confident and he has a good style, but man, what I really, and I mentioned again, but I think it's honest to God, one of the most important components, especially of kickboxing. Again, I say it and I say it again, range management. That
mhm.
whole time, what I was really impressed by was his range management, specifically for his kicks, his high kicks.
Yeah,
Griffin Rodriguez got some clean kicking technique, man. That guy got some natural hips. This the way that he chambers them and throws them up there with the speed and power he had. He'd
yeah.
find that range, find that range. Wouldn't press the fight, like in an unneeded so. Was patient to
And
set up
great
the strikes
hands
that he
too,
wanted.
man. He's got great hands too. You know.
I gotta agree, man. Like I said, I was really, really impressed by that.
Yeah.
I know King's MMA is just a great camp overall, but I'm really hoping he sticks to kickboxing because I think if he does, man, he'd have a big, big future, man. When
I
you got that
agree.
natural talent.
I agree. I think we got a bunch of, man, I think between the two of them, but between this whole card, we got a bunch of real stars on our hands, man. If these guys continue to grind it out, in the lines, then so I look forward to this fight for sure, man.
All right, moving on to the next one. Again, man, I've said it for almost all of this, but this one I'm super hyped for. We got Hamza Trod taking on Aaron Fawcett. Man, we've seen Hamza Trot. I believe he made his combat sports debut within Fightersrep. We've
Yep.
seen him have an impressive, debut there. He fought a little bit of MMA, and then, came back, to kickboxing again to fight Edgar Zaragoza. And I was just so impressed by that one. Our good friend Joey the Bull actually told me about this guy, before he was debuting, and I was like, oh, let me go check it out. Saw a few highlights, was impressed, but when I saw that Edgar Zaragoza fight, I knew this guy was legit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Edgar's a tough guy, and Hamza was just able to overwhelm him. Now, I mean, Hamza did come in a little bit overweight in that fight. So, I don't like to give people full credit for fights that they come overweight in, but, the skills definitely showed. They definitely shined through. And, he also, I mean, I want to say one or two other fights with us in the past where he finished his opponents. I believe it was two fights where he finished his opponents. He's got nasty knees. He's got crazy athleticism. I mean, this kid, after each win, he runs at the turnbuckle and does a backflip off of it. I mean, this guy's got the agility of a lion or of a jaguar or something. I mean, this guy's amazing to watch. So I'm really looking forward to this fight. He's gone and like I mentioned earlier, he's become an MMA champion at Up Next Fighting, right after fighting with us for a while. And now we've got a real challenge for him. And Aaron Fawcett out of Andrade Muay Thai. They're coming in from Las Vegas, I believe it is. And that kid is super talented as well. And, it's going to be two of the best at 147 pounds. I mean, that's the best. That might be the best division in kickboxing, boxing, combat sports in general, that 147-pound division. And these two boys are, they're up there. And this is a title fight. This is going to be 5 rounds. So buckle your seatbelts for this one because this one's going to be crazy. 5
Man,
rounds. 5 rounds, Hamza Trod and Aaron Fawcett. It's going to be nuts.
dude, man, I'm excited to see how they keep the pace, man. It's like I said, Hamza is incredibly athletic. That guy's never still. That guy's
Yeah.
never still in a fight. His feet are always moving. He sets up the knees really well, and he throws numbers. You know, but you got to give it up to Aaron Fawcett, man. When you're always going to be the out of towner guy, the B side, a little bit. I won't want to say the underdog, but not the hometown hero, and coming in to take a belt. I always
Yeah, I
love
mean,
those
he's
stories
coming
about
to hostile territory. He knows he's going to be up against it in there. These people are going to be cheering. for Hamza. But I mean, that's not going to determine who the better fighter is. Either Aaron is going to show up under the lights or Hamza is going to show up under the lights. And we're going to see who the man is at 147 pounds. And listen, whoever wins this fight is the man at 147 pounds. I mean, there's nobody from what I've seen, as seasoned as either one of these kids at 147 pounds. It's going to be a great fight.
Yeah, I agree highly. And moving on to another title fight that I'm excited for, man. Return of the Gator. Return of the Gator. Jason Granado taking on Isaac De La Paz, man. Whew.
Man, this is a wild one. I mean, we already know what the Gator's about, man. He comes into the Lions Den where there's no clinching beyond 3 to 5 seconds. There's no hugging. There's no grappling. There's no holding. You got to fight, right? It's an active clinch at Fightersrep, maximum 3 to 5 seconds, right? So you can get maybe 1 or 2 knees off and you got to let go. This is not a sport where people can stall Jason Granado. And when people don't stall the Gator, they get snapped, right? He snaps at him and he eats them. He rolls them up. He gets a big bite of them. He rolls them up and he drags them into the swamp. And usually he does it in one round. That's what we've seen from Jason Granado. I mean, I want to say he's been to the second round in the Lions Den just one time. Every other fight has been a first round finish. The other one was a second round finish, at least in this kickboxing rule set. But he's taken on a guy in Isaac De La Paz who's got a lot of experience, who beat a guy the last time out in the Lions Den who had double the experience that he had. He's a guy, Isaac De La Paz, who's long, who's lean, who's strong, just like Jason Granado. I mean, as far as their physical build, this is really close to Jason, right? And, the only other person we saw close to being as physically imposing as Jason at the weight class was I believe it was at Fightersrep 16. Dorsey, it was Maurice Dorsey, I believe it was.
I
He
would
was the
say
only
so.
Yeah, he was the only guy who was, as long and lean as Granado, and he gave him a hell of a fight. He hurt Granado in that fight and almost finished him, and then Granado came back and got to finish himself. But my point is, these guys physically, they match up very well. And I think stylistically, they match up very well because while Isaac De La Paz is not, the first or second round finisher the way Jason Granado is, he's very technically sound and he's very defensively responsible. We saw that in his fight against Seferino Ramos. He came out there. He was very defensively sound. He had his hands up the whole time. Man, and he just looked tight, sharp, crisp. He went out to get more experience, and his team told me, we want to get a little bit more experience, and then we want to go after that belt that the Gator has. They feel like right now that they're at the level that they're at the point in their career where they can go after the Gator, and we're going to see what goes down in the Gator pit or the Lions Den, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to see what happens when these two face off. But this is definitely not a fight for the faint of heart. Do not blink during this fight. This is going to be, I'm telling you, Jason Granado has never been in a boring fight. And Isaac De La Paz is as strong as Jason Granado is offensively. Isaac De La Paz is defensively. And I'm very excited to see how this fight goes. And listen, De La Paz also has great technique, a great jab, a great teep, knows what he's doing. This is going to be a real challenge for Granado and a real challenge for De La Paz, and a great fight to level both of these boys up. And it's 5 rounds for a title.
You took the words out of my mouth, man. That's what I was going to mention. It was Isaac De La Paz jab. He's real long, and like you said, what I really was impressed by the Seferino Ramos fight, his last fight, he was coming off a shoulder dislocation off his left shoulder, and for him to reveal that, I was completely shocked because, that's a tricky joint. You've seen it again and again when the shoulder kind of goes, especially in striking, it's tough to recover from.
Yeah, and you can throw it out at any time. I mean, you could throw it out at any time. One punch too hard, it's gone, and you're finished basically if that happens at a kickboxing fight. So
We've seen it happen before, actually.
yeah, yeah,
I believe it happened to Evan Wong. He
that's right.
unfortunately
That's right.
lost his fight due to his shoulder dislocating, and I remember they were almost kind of trying to like put it back either backstage or something, and like that was one of the most gnarly things I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah, that was crazy for sure, for
But
sure.
I was rewatching that last fight specifically to see, maybe there's a tell there. Maybe, you can see it. Maybe there's a little bit of like, a shunt in the movement. But overall, whatever recovery he did a great job. I
Yeah,
couldn't
he
see it.
looked great. He looked great, and Seth had a lot more experience than him. Of course, Isaac had the height advantage, which he's not going to have that against Jason, but Jason's not really going to have it against him either, right? It's going to be two very big guys for the division, and I can't wait to see that fight, man.
I love that 135 division, man. Like
Great
that's
fight.
another stacked one. That
It
one's so
is. It
good.
really is. It really is.
All right, and then we're moving on to a rematch.
Oh my
One of
goodness.
my favorites,
My
two of my
goodness.
favorite finishers in Fightersrep. And we got
My
Raymond
goodness.
Martinez taking on Cameron Spencer.
Man. Man. Everybody knows about this one. I mean, if you're a fan of striking, kickboxing, you know anything about our community, you know that this is a must watch fight. This is a must see fight. Raymond Solo Martinez coming off a long hiatus and injury after becoming the Fightersrep light cruiserweight champion at 185 pounds, where he stopped Cameron Spencer. Now, Cameron, that was a hell of a fight. It was a close fight, but Raymond was able to get the stoppage. And now here we are, I want to say almost a year later, right? Cam has been very active. Raymond, not so much, but he's been getting his health in order. And I know he's training hard with Coach Rage in his corner. I know they're over there at Pugilist Gym with Dor Skanky. I'm sure they're doing some great stuff over there. And we know Cam Spencer has been. He's gone on, like I said before, and become a champion in other promotions after being built at Fightersrep. And this is his opportunity now to right the wrong from the past fight, and try to get that Fightersrep strap added to his collection. Raymond Martinez has already been at that mountaintop. Now Cam Spencer's trying to get there. Now, this is gonna be another one, man. This is gonna be a crazy fight. Anyone can win this fight. This is a 50-50 fight. Raymond's got the power, as we've seen, to hurt Cameron and to finish him. I think Cameron might have the power to do the same to Raymond. And so it's going to be one of those where, it's just whoever lands it first and can survive. That's what it's going to be.
I gotta agree, man. This is one, we've said it before, but you're not gonna want to blink, man. You're not. Like, Raymond has proved he can finish you anywhere. He can finish you to the body. He can come over top to the head, and as well he can stay in the fight.
And
He
he can
doesn't
hit you
get
with
tired.
a spinning back kick, and finish you that way. So these guys are dangerous guys at 185 pounds, man.
And yeah, and we've seen, and what I really like about Cameron Spencer lately, I feel like just body type wise, he's acclimated to that 185 division lately so well. Because if you look at his first few fights and his physique, you can see he still has a little bit of that football body player type, carrying a little more fat on him, not as leaned out. But now you look at him, he's shredded. He lost any extra weight that he had. He makes 185 easy peasy and just really looks like he's acclimated to that division.
Yeah, and he's a guy who can fight up to 205 without issue. He's just built very strong. And Raymond's another big boy. I mean, obviously he doesn't have the same body type you would say as Cam Spencer, but very powerful. I mean, we've seen Raymond Martinez knock someone out with one punch with the right hand, and he had Cameron on the ropes with the left hand. So Raymond Martinez is a guy who can finish you with either hand, but I think so is Cameron. So is Cameron Spencer. So that's what makes this fight so exciting, man. I mean, because Cameron hurt him in that fight too, you know. So and then we've seen Cameron just laying people out left and right. I want to say that his last fight for us, where he got a vicious knockout, I want to say it's like kind of gone viral on our Facebook page. I want to say it's at like 400,000 or 500,000 views or something like that. So he's a very impressive person to watch, and when he connects, you know it. By the way, shout out to Coach Pot in the chat, man. Much love to him. He says George is back. Appreciate you, Coach Pot. Huge supporter at Fightersrep and just a fantastic striking coach.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, man. Well, moving on to the next one,
Yeah.
we got Clarence Watson, aka CJ, taking on Derek Villalobos.
Villalobos. Yeah, I mean, this is
Villalobos.
another fantastic fight. Clarence Watson and Derek Villalobos, two of the most talented guys in these lighter weight classes. They're going to be taking on each other at 135 pounds. Clarence is a guy who fought Evan Bolton in the past and put up a hell of a fight. I mean, and you know, he could make 135 pounds. So that just tells you, you know, how incredible of a fighter CJ is. Now, we haven't been able to work with Derek, but from what I've seen from him, he's a fantastic talent as well. And so I think this is just going to be a great fight. Moreno Muay Thai, represented by Derek Villalobos, and of course, Squirrel Muay Thai, Cody Sessions, you know, represented by Clarence Watson. And, you know, both of these camps, they come to fight. Both of these camps are very, you know, high pedigree, highly skilled, and I can't wait to watch this fight.
Well, what I like about Clarence too is the fact that he's a high-paced guy. You know, he's a constant go, 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 go. Keep on the high pace. Keep in your face. Always willing to break off the clinch. Willing to throw knees, throwing kicks. He's in your face the whole time, man. And I haven't seen again. You know, he hasn't fought for Fightersrep yet, and I haven't seen too much of it. But Derek Villalobos is a very impressive guy as well, man. Especially, you know, like I said, I love 135. You know, I love some of the lighter weight divisions just by the fact you see these guys that move at lightning fast speed with a cardio pace that you can't even imagine. Like,
yeah. And you know, we're going to talk about it in this next fight coming up. I believe at Fightersrep, the whole myth about the lighter guys not being able to hurt each other or knock each other out or score big knockouts, it's just that in the Lions Den. It is an absolute myth because these guys in the lighter weight classes have been lighting each other up, sending each other, I hate to say it, putting each other in the ambulances at Fightersrep. I mean, these guys are getting knocked out left and right in the 125, 135 pound division. So, yeah, anyone who has anything to say about them not having power, that's crazy, you know. And that I think that's a great segue into the next one. The title fight at featherweight between Mariano Hernandez Corona and David Marquez, the death dealer. Listen, man, both of these guys advanced at the last Fightersrep, and now we're going to see who the man is at 127 pounds. And Corona advanced by landing a one-hitter quitter against a very talented, very tough Ian Holloway. I mean, it was just an incredible punch landed. And so if these 127 pounders didn't have power, how was he able to put a very durable, very tough, undefeated Ian Holloway at the time away with just one punch? Same with David Marquez. I mean, we saw him in his fight against Yadir Perez, where he landed one of the most vicious knockouts I think that we've seen in the sport, maybe in the sport's history. You know, landing a head kick that ended the fight and then landing a right hook while Yadir was on the way down to kind of finish things off. These are two vicious guys that will finish you in one shot, and I can't wait to see this fight happen. And it's for a title, again, to determine who the man is at 127 pounds.
well, what I love too about both these guys, and again, like you said, if anybody doesn't believe the lighter weights don't have power, I dare you to go spar any of these guys, and you know,
Go
go
watch their fights on our YouTube channel.
go watch their highlights, go like meet them. What I find like almost kind of hilarious about these guys, if you meet them, they're the nicest guys ever.
Oh,
They
yeah.
are the David Mark. I was actually talking to David Marquez about like going and watching the fights together. He's the nicest dude you ever meet. Same thing with Mariano Hernandez Corona. Like, I remember after his last fight, or no, his first fight at Fightersrep, he was just all smiles, the nicest guy you'd meet. And when these guys step in there, you just see this switch that flips where they're just
Yeah.
aggressive. They're in each other's face. And at 127, because, it's not so much mass to move, the pace that these fights are fought at is one that, again, you don't want to blink because
Yeah.
one shot is so quick and you're not going to see it. It can put anybody out.
And that speed also generates so much power when it lands, man. It's just devastating. And so it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know, man. I don't agree with these lighter guys not having power. Like I said, all these guys are finishing their opponents, and especially in these lighter classes. And again, I want to say some of the most spectacular knockouts. I mean, these two guys have come off some spectacular knockouts. So I can't wait for this fight, man. Both these guys, especially Marquez, he's got a real fun personality on the microphone. He's given some of the more exciting, I want to say, post-fight interviews. So it should be a good one.
Yeah. And I want to reiterate again the point. Mariano Hernandez Corona's last fight, he took on 2 weeks and it was his first fight without headgear.
Oh
The
man.
guy steps to the occasion. He steps to the occasion again,
Wow, man.
again, and again,
Wow.
and has
Wow.
knockout power, man. Like,
Shout out to him. Shout out to Manny Mancha Kickboxing. Jim, that was wild, man. That
go
was
watch his
wild.
highlight reel, please. Everybody watching this needs to go look at that last all his fights. All right, moving on to another one. Another Fightersrep mainstay and one half of, in my opinion, my favorite Fightersrep couple, Christian Zoller taking on Joseph Parker, man. I'm
Great
excited for
fight.
this one.
Great fight. Two guys that have fought everyone with great records. Two very tall guys for the division at 172 pounds. Um, Two very talented fighters. This one is another one that can go either way. Zoller has fought for us multiple times. He's won a title. He's lost the title. He's given us some of the most, I want to say, the most shocking moments in the Lions Den when he, knocked out David Rivera in their first fight. Of course, he was knocked out in the second one himself. But still, man, just a fantastic talent, just a fantastic and exciting fighter to watch. Taking on Joseph Parker, a guy who hasn't fought for us in the past, but a guy with a great pedigree with a lot of fights under his belt. Like I said, he's tall, and I think that's going to make for a lot of action in this fight, man.
Yeah, and what I love about it too is the fact that Christian's moving up, man. Again, you
Yeah,
see him. He's
yeah,
been trying to put on more weight, trying to change that physique again. And man, he's coming into his own. He really, really, in my opinion, I think he really is. I know he is coming off a knockout loss, but that just goes to show Christian really doesn't, again, another guy who doesn't have boring fights. You're
yeah.
either going to see incredible technical prowess and beautiful striking, or, either way, you're going to see an exciting, exciting fight.
And he's fought for the super middleweight title before. That's what he's fighting for now. He fought against Joshua Caldwell at the time, came up short. So I think this title means a lot to him. He wasn't able to achieve this one. He was able to capture the middleweight, but not the super middleweight. And I think this means a lot to him. I'm sure it means a lot to Parker too. This is a title fight, 5 rounds. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Man, George, I just got to say, man, all these title fights are just incredible.
Crazy.
Man.
I'm telling you, this card is nuts, man.
What are we, like 3 or 4 or 5 title fights in already?
I
Like,
mean, we're going to be spending a lot of money on belts for this one, man. But it's just,
oh, for
these guys
sure.
have just gotten to the point where they've earned it. I, I'm of the position where if you don't have 5 fights, I'm not going to even offer you a title fight. If you don't have 5 fights, I'm not even going to do it. And that goes to show you the level of experience that a lot of these guys have, man.
I agree, man. You gotta, you really
And of course,
shouldn't
a
be.
winning record. I mean, you got to have a winning record too.
Yeah,
It can't just be 5 fights. You know what I mean?
you can't be 0-5 and get a title shot. That's not going to
Right.
happen at
Right.
Fighters
Right.
Rep. We're not like, I won't name names with certain other promotions that gives title shots to losing records. You
More
got to
power
be
to them,
impressive.
but we're not going to do that. Yeah, we're not
No,
doing that here.
and like I said, man, like I think in watching the development, and again, Christian Zoller is a great example of this. Watch a guy from a first fight with us to his fights now, you can see the progression that every single guys take as they take more fights in the Lions Den. Moving on, we got a pro bout I'm highly, highly excited for. And I think a pro fighter who's really, I'd say, made his name at Fighters Rep. We got Evan Bolton taking on Jake Haas, man.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
saw Evan Bolton about, at Fighters Rep 17, taking on Jordan Weiland and coming out with that victory. We've seen him again and again. We've seen him get stoppages. We've seen him have 5-round title fights. We've seen him in wars. We've seen him put the pace on people. We've seen him put great technique on people.
Yeah.
I can't say enough great things about Evan Bolton, man.
Two great fighters at 147 pounds. Two guys who have a common opponent in Jordan Weiland. They both were able to get by Jordan Weiland, who's one of the better 147 fighters on the planet. I mean, listen, Jordan Weiland beat Eddie Abasolo. Jordan beat Eddie Abasolo, who's just had a fantastic fight for ONE FC, right? And both of these guys beat Jordan Weiland. So, I want to see what happens between these two studs at 147 pounds. And, we've worked with Evan Bolton in the past. We know what he's about. He's big, long, gangly, 6'4" guy who somehow, or 6'3" or whatever he is, somehow he's making 147 pounds, but he hits you with a kick or a punch or a knee from across the ring. And, it's going to be exciting to watch Jake Haas, who's a very skilled fighter himself, negate that height, negate that reach. I want to see what he does. I want to see what these two guys do because I want to see who the best is at 147 pounds. Like I told you, it's one of the most entertaining divisions in combat sports. And this is going to give us clarity. I mean, this is for the world stage. These are two of the best 147 pounders, period.
I gotta agree, man. I think the exciting part, at least when you watch Evan Bolton fight, and here's again why I'm excited that he has an opponent like Jake Haas taking him on. He's a weird puzzle to figure out at that division, man.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's about, I want to say he's about 6'3". He's an inch or two taller than me.
Yeah.
And I stand at 6'2". And so he is definitely in that 6'3", 6'4" range. And the fact that he makes 147 at that height, man, like there's not an ounce of body fat on him. Like he's so lean. And so he'll have these like long range battles, and throw from all these kind of interesting angles and know how to cut the angle. And you'll see guys like not even on those powerful shots, but just be confused by this interesting puzzle that he is. So if Jake Haas can figure out the puzzle that is Evan Bolton, more power to him, man.
Yeah, if anyone can do it, Jake will do it, but it's going to be this is a 50-50 fight. This can go either way. 147 pounds. This is pure class, man, these two. So I can't wait to see this, man. I can't wait to see this pro fight, man. Evan Bolton's going to bring out everyone in Long Beach too. So Jake Haas, man, I mean, he is in Northern California. I'm sure he'll bring some fans down there with him, but he's definitely going into hostile territory, taking on Evan Bolton. I mean, it just is what it is. Evan has a big following. Everybody from Long Beach is going to be there. It's going to be loud, and it's going to be exciting to see them sorted out at 147 pounds.
Yeah, man. And then moving on to another great pro fight. A guy that we've seen, again, develop and start his actual pro career at the Lions Den. And from his first fight on, has delivered a knockout every time in devastating fashion. Connor Kenny Powers Bracken taking on Travis St. John, man. This is one you're not going to want to blink on. This is one you're not going to want to sleep on.
These are two of the baddest mamma jammas at 185 pounds, bro. Connor Bracken, as you said, developed in the Fighters Rep Lions Den. He had one fight before walking into the Lions Den. The rest have been in the Lions Den. They've all been wins except for his draw with Eddie Jackson, which was also a fantastic fight. I believe that was the first fight he had with us was against Eddie Jackson. Again, it was pure entertainment. It ended up being fight of the night, but ever since then, he's just been knocking people out. He discovered he's got this one hitter quitter, and he's fallen in love with it. But man, Travis St. John is another very tough 185-pound customer. We're bringing him in from Texas. I want to say he's also like 5-1 or something like that in the pro game. Big, strong, and listen, both of these guys, charismatic, pure charisma, just fun to watch. I can't wait to see this man because Connor, I mean, look, both these guys are 100, they're cutting down 185 pounds. And Connor said it in your interview with him. This is not a game. You know, he's trying to bash people's head in. And at 185 pounds, both of these guys are big boys. They land one clean shot, it's good night. It's over. And that's what they're going to try to do to each other. Neither one of these guys are coming to play pity pat. They're coming to knock each other out.
Oh, that's what am most excited for. It's not even just the fact that obviously both guys are huge dudes, physical specimens, can knock either of out. Both guys are highly aggressive.
Oh yeah.
Both guys want each other's heads. Like
Connor's borderline reckless in there, man. He just and it just works for him. I mean, he figures it out in that chaos, man. And if we have yet to see somebody who just bombs it out with him and survives. I mean, Travis could be that guy. He could be that guy that just, gets into that, brawl with him and survives. And maybe he clips Connor, at 185, anyone can get clipped. But so far, what I've seen is if you brawl it out with Connor, he's taking you out. He's finishing you off. So I'm excited to see this fight because Travis is not a small guy. He's a big, strong boy. And I just want to see how this happens, man. I want to see how this plays out. I don't think this goes 3 rounds. No. I don't think it goes 3 rounds. Unless, we know Connor's head is made out of steel. Mm-hmm. If Travis's head is made out of steel, then somehow it does go 3 rounds, But, man, I just find it hard to believe that this fight can go 3 rounds.
I think what you're trying to say is the fact that the medical staff better be ready on the sidelines for this fight.
Yeah. And the audience better be ready, and the people watching online on the live stream better be ready, because I'm telling you, these are two of the baddest human beings at 185 pounds. If you stand these guys up with other human beings at 185 pounds, these guys are walking out at the end of the battle, man. These are two bad boys, so definitely you want to check this one out.
And to add to the storyline too, this is actually just to go check out that interview I had with Connor Bracken. This is his first fight sober. Right. And he's out on a whole incredible journey, that he actually shared with us, and I'm very grateful for the fact that he shared that story on a public platform. So
congrats to him, man. Of course, we wish him the best. Of course, we want him to succeed. But listen, that's gonna be a war in there come September 9th. And shout out to Marco Granado in the chat and Hurricane Santana, a fighter, but also our matchmaker in Miami, or in South Florida, where we're planning on doing a show on November 4th. But for right now, let's stick to September 9th in Los Angeles. Let's stay on topic. Tickets on sale, live stream on sale at Fightersrep.com. On to the next fight, Adam.
Man, we got 2 guys that are coming off losses, but I think are motivated than hell coming off those 2 losses. Nathan Hawthorne taking on Ian Holloway.
Yeah.
Ooh,
wow, man. Wow. So this one's interesting, man. Nathan, depending on who you asked, won that fight in a lot of people's, on a lot of people's scorecards at the last fight against David Marquez. They gave Marquez the nod. I believe it was a split decision. I don't completely remember off the top of my head. They gave Marquez the nod. But a lot of people thought Nathan won that fight, so he's coming back with something to prove, and he wants to get back in contention for that title. He's already won a title at other promotions. He's another guy that, has fought at Fightersrep and is a champion somewhere else, but he wants to come get that Fightersrep Lions Den strap. He's going to
Two-sport
be
champion
taking
too.
on, what's that now?
He's a two-sport champion. He recently
That's
just
right.
won a
That's
title in
right.
Muay Thai, and he has a title in MMA.
That's right. That's right. And this would be his third sport, which is absolutely ridiculous. And listen, he's talented. He's talented beyond belief. That's what I'll say about Nathan Hawthorne. And it was also a pleasure to work with him. I mean, the guy's just a pleasure to deal with. Then Ian Holloway, man, didn't get a chance to show what he had, didn't get a chance to get off in that last fight against Mariano Corona. Listen, he got clipped. Anybody gets clipped. That's the sport. But the kid was undefeated up until then. I know Ian Holloway is immensely talented. I can't wait to see how he comes back from that experience, which is, what it is at the end of the day. It's an experience. You know what I mean? I think he's going to get better because of it. I think he's going to be probably more defensively cautious at the beginning of the fight because of it. And I think we're going to see a fantastic performance from both guys. These are two of the best guys still in the featherweight division, and whoever wins this fight can very well, potentially challenge for the title in their next fight or two fights from now. So we'll see what happens, man. But what I do know is this is going to be a great fight. These are two great fighters at 127 pounds.
And what I love too about going into this fight, obviously, both guys are coming off a loss, but in the meantime, they've been putting in the work, man. Again, in the off time for Fightersrep, Nathan Hawthorne went and won another title in another sport. So he's kept active. He's still in shape. He's still hungry. Again, wanting to avenge, some of those losses and get back in a title contention. Same thing with Ian Holloway, man. Like that's one guy I'm really impressed with. On the channel you can actually see us speaking about sharing a sparring round together and me getting experience firsthand what some of his striking was like. I was highly, highly impressed, man.
I think I was there for that.
You were, man. You were. We sparred together. We boxed
We did
a little bit.
Yeah, we did a little bit.
Yeah, man. Again, I say, how many other promoters do you see going to open mats, man? How many others? Man. And George actually, believe it or not, George, you got a little bit of hands, man. You tagged me a few times. I got to give it up. I got to give it up. You still got it.
Thank you.
But going back to Ian Holloway, what I really like to see within a fighter, loss depression is one of the toughest things. You'll see guys like if they can overcome a loss, like that shows for something. It's a bit of a make or break with guys, especially coming off a knockout.
Yeah.
But you see Ian Holloway, he's going to different gyms. He's getting that information. He even was working a little bit with Chris Cully, someone who has fought and commentates for the Lions Den. So he's going and he's really trying to level up his game. So you can see the motivation that is brought for him. So I'm excited. Both guys are hungry. Both guys got a chip on their shoulder. Both guys are starving to get back in title contention.
Ian Holloway's not a guy who will let that, in my opinion, will let that loss get to him. He's just mentally wired differently. And I think that's why he's so successful in everything he does. And I think that's why, we'll continue to see Ian Holloway succeed in the Lions Den and in combat sports.
We got another rematch. We got another title fight, but this one's in the pros, man. And this one you are not going to want to miss. I'm stressing it so much. There's going to be a fireworks fight, if not potentially the fight of the night. I'm putting it out there now. We got David Dynamite Pacheco taking on Darren Hollywood Smith once again for the title.
Too much drama. I'm going to need a whole bottle of whiskey for this one. Every time David Pacheco fights, I have a mini heart attack. But you know what? The same thing happens when Darren Smith fights. You were there when your coach Mike Segura and him went to war, and it's going to happen again. This is a rematch. In the first fight, Pacheco hurt Darren Smith in the beginning of the fight. Smith was somehow able to regain his composure, as he always does. He's got like superhuman ability to recuperate. He came back and got the finish and just gets stronger and stronger as the rounds go on. I think that's something that David Pacheco feels like he can address in this next fight. And I think that's why he took this fight. And I just can't wait to see this fight, man. These guys don't run. These guys don't shy away. These guys come to knock each other out. And that's what they did in the first fight. And that's what they're going to do in this fight. And it was a bloody mess. And it was brutal. And it was violent. And it was everything you expect in the Lions Den, man. It was a real fight. And it's going to happen this time for the middleweight title.
Like, it's like I said, man, this is one exciting fight. This is honestly one of my favorites, if not potentially my favorite, just because, man, I love both guys' styles. It was an absolute highlight reel. You know, although, you know, obviously I'm biased. He's my coach. You know, he did take the loss against Darren Smith. As a guy who has to go against Mike Segura, you know, on an every other week basis, like, and has sparred him, like, if you're beating a guy like that, that says something to me. And on top of it too, if you're a guy like Darren Smith, who, you know, he's got so many names and has fought so many guys within the scene of the SoCal fights in general.
He's got a crazy resume. He's got a ton of fights. And, you know, he's an MMA. He's an MMA fighter. He's a kickboxer. He'll box. He'll do it all, man. He just wants to fight. He's just a warrior. He just wants to fight.
If I'm taking a ballpark guess, it's probably in the range of 50 plus fights now for him across all sports.
He's got to have over 30. I don't know exactly, but he's got to have over 30. But listen, Pacheco, man. Pacheco is a dangerous guy, man. Pacheco, his chin never gives out. You know, if the fight ends, it's because the referee jumped in to stop it. He just never gives up. He'll fight to the death. And he's got heavy hands. He hurts people. He gets hurt. He's vulnerable. He's exciting and he's dynamic and you know, it's just this is just going to be, you know, this is going to be Rock'em Sock'em Robots in real life. That's what this is going to be. And people better get ready for just nonstop heavy punches landing from both sides. These guys are not really these guys are not here to pity pat. They're not going to play defense. These guys are going to go in there and try to get each other out of there. That's what they do.
And I want to bring up the example too. Like, go check out David Pacheco's first fight for Fightersrep. You see him get dropped and somehow rise like Lazarus, like out of nowhere to come back and knock out his opponent. And I've seen him do that multiple times. It does not make. I've seen this guy get dropped, and I'm like, he's done. There's no. And then he gets up, and I'm like,
yeah,
what is he made out of? Like,
yeah, man, he's something special, man.
Moving on, we're back to the amateurs, but again, two guys who are mainstays of Fightersrep, two guys who have really developed and have just put themselves in the Lions Den. We got Hasarov Sadarov taking on Dylan the Butcher Ludwig, man. These are two aggressive guys that are coming and looking for the finish, man. Haas literally has violence tattoos against his stomach.
He does. He does. I'm really, you say Pacheco Smith is going to be fight of the night. I mean, look at this card. You know, look at this card, Adam. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to be fight of the night. Our last two events had a 50% knockout ratio. Half the fights ended due to stoppage in our last couple events. What's going to happen in an event like this with this kind of talent going up against each other? And I bring up the finishes because you got Khosrow Sadarov and you've got Dylan Ludwig, who, you know, comes from that one bell Coach Rage mentality. Khosrow Sadarov out of, you know, Team Victory Muay Thai, incredibly athletic Khosrow, incredibly talented, crazy ability, agility. and very technical, going against Dylan Ludwig, who's just, he's the butcher. He's an axe murderer. He's going in there and he's just trying to take you out. And he's good at it. And the last couple fights, Dylan has just looked incredible. He's just looked incredible. And, I understand Khosrov now, as I mentioned before, went on and became a champion in another promotion. But in his last Fightersrep fight, he looked a little flat. In the one before, he looked incredible. And the last one, he came out a little flat. So we're going to see which Khosrov Sadarov shows up. If the one that fought Ahmed Zidane, or the one that just won a title shows up, we're going to have a hell of a fight from Khosrov. And I say that the best Khosrov possible has to show up because Dylan Ludwig in his last fight showed why he's the butcher. I mean, he absolutely just went after his opponent in that last fight. They went after each other full, in sixth gear. It was 100% they went after each other. And Dylan Ludwig doesn't seem to lose a step, doesn't seem to get tired, and just gets more violent and aggressive as the fight goes on. And I'm excited to see what that pressure does to Khosrov, a guy who's just so athletic and so dynamic and technical. Is he going to have time to do all that stuff when this guy's pushing him this hard? And is Dylan going to be able to deal?
Oh, we got a little bit of a freeze here. Just hold on for 1 second, guys. Again, we're the one promotion out here across the coast from coast. We got a little bit of a connection issue. Let me see if I can get George back, but I'll take over
that,
talking about.
Beautiful technique and athleticism. Adam, you still there?
Yep, I'm still here, man. I was just taking over a little bit, just talking about Haas a little bit. As George said, he's got incredible technique, but this is one fight you're not going to want to miss just by the fact that we've seen Dylan, and as he's come down to some of these lighter weight classes, we see that gas tank get better and better. Recently he's gone to a more plant-based diet. And I say you can see the gains in the Lions Den. You can see the gains in his fight. He's got a lot more energy. He's able to push the pace. But like we said, Haas is an aggressive type guy. He doesn't take a step backward, and he's in your face trying to finish you the whole time, man. You got to go back and look at it about 2 fights ago, his last victory at Fightersrep, man. He was in that dude's face until the end. Even after he got the finish, he was still just like hyped up, angry, and aggressive, man. So these are 2 guys that, just from their own acumen, when they get in there, you're not going to want to miss. And it could go potentially all the rounds, and we see a bloody war and a high-paced war, or someone's getting finished. But either way, this is one I think is going to be very high pace and going to have a lot of action. You there, George?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, sir.
Okay. Good.
I was just breaking down a little bit again how both these guys, have made a lot of strides. And like I said, Haas, very aggressive dude, definitely always looking for the finish, always trying to just hurt his opponent. Same thing with Dylan Ludwig, man. And like I said, since he's turned plant-based, I think you've really, really seen a lot of great physical changes out of him. All right. Moving on to the last one I got booked up here. We got Matthew Edwards taking on Caden Vuong out of Huntington Beach Fight Club, man. I'm excited for this one, George. We got another guy coming out of Huntington Beach Fight Club. Those guys are making a heck of their name for themselves, man.
Yeah.
I was impressed by Caden Wong's last fight, and I believe he got a finish in his last fight. Am I correct in that? Or?
Almost. So he dropped Yevgeny Budakov in the last round of a fantastic fight. He didn't get the finish, but he definitely sealed the win in a very close fight with that knockdown in the third round. And so he's just a tough customer. He's technical. He's looking good. He's coming along just like the rest of those boys over at HB Fight Club, like you said, man, with Johnny Mercurio at the helm. And, he's just, they've got a great style, man. They've got a great style. They know what they're doing. And I look forward to seeing this fight against Matthew Edwards, who has not been in the lines then for a very long time. I think he was going through a lot of personal stuff. But, now he's back. He's training with Marcos Bonilla, one of our favorite coaches to work with. And Matthew Edwards is hungry, man, and he's charismatic and he's fun to watch and he's getting better all the time. And he's just, his technique is always getting better, and he just hasn't been able to put it to the test in a while because we haven't seen him in the lines then, but he's back. I think this is going to be a real fun fight to see where both of these guys are at. And, that's the card so far, man. And it is just absolutely ridiculously stacked, if I do say so.
I agree, sir. And again, we got a little bit of lag going on, guys, but every time I can take over quite easily. And I gotta agree, this is one of the best cards I think we've ever put on, man. I think we counted here. I'll count right now. We got 1, we got 2, we got 3, and we got 4 and 5. Yeah, 5. Like, we got multiple title fights across this card, man. This is one you're not going to want to miss. Each guy that is coming up against each guy is very well balanced, equal experience. These are almost all of them, I would say, are 50-50 fights. If I had to bet on any of these guys, I'm not feeling confident in it because either guy can win any of these fights. So you're not going to want to miss this one, man. This is going to be on September 9th, Fightersrep 19. Tickets are on sale now. You're going to want to get them before they sell out, man. We're going to have a great crowd. It's going to be a great show. And I think it's going to be a night filled with explosive action, knockouts, and more incredible things you're going to want to see. And it looks like we lost George a little bit, but I'll close out the show here for everybody. And like I said, come check us out. Fightersrep 19. We got title fights. We got pro fights. We got all the fights in action you're going to want to see come September 9th at Fightersrep 19. Tickets are on sale now. Go to fightersrep.com to get yours, man. And I'll see you guys there.